Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you guys for joining us for Candid Coffee Chats, the triple C's with our coffee panelists that we have. We're going to start in about a minute. So we're going to let some of those that are coming continue to keep coming. If you guys need to grab a coffee so that you can get candid, so go ahead and do that, or water to join us for today's chat.
Yeah, I didn't think to go get my coffee mug, huh?
I have a coffee confessionals mug. Let me grab it.
Yeah.
I applied at Coffee Tea and Greenleaf one time, whatever it's called, I can't remember now. But I don't drink coffee, so it was like, they're gonna force me to try all these samples. I know they will. It's probably not gonna be a good match.
Do you drink tea?
No, I don't even really drink tea.
All righty, so thank you guys again for joining us for Candid Coffee Chat with our Restaurant Academy. This is our first event of the year, which we have quarterly events that we'll talk about a little bit later. So we're just excited that you guys came to join us this afternoon. You guys could have been anywhere else, but you guys came to sip and chat with us today. So we're going to walk through this presentation. My name is China Spikes. I'm the Associate Director here with Pacific Coast SBDC. I've been with the organization for 5 years now, and we also have our Restaurant Academy Specialty Business Advisor, Celeste Young Ramos, and then we also have Asia Beard. So we're excited to have both of them in their specialties to help you guys with all of the needs that you are looking to receive to help your restaurant business, or even you guys are joining that don't have a restaurant and you guys are operating some type of service business or a different type of other business. So we're glad to share the wealth as well. Okay, so if this is your first time with the SBDC, we are the SBDC. We're a national program. There are over 1,000 locations that help small business throughout the state, and we also have a few locations outside of the United States as well. So we provide resources for small businesses, for-profit businesses, and we are federally funded through the Small Business Administration. So we provide consulting, training workshop, also funding here at the PCR SBDC Center, and it is no cost to you. It's your tax dollars at work. With our services that we provide, the one-on-one advising and the workshops, we provide an array of different topics. So from licensing and permits, hiring, loan funding, government contracting, social media and marketing, accounting and finance. And then we also have specialty advisors along those lines. So with Celeste and Asia being a part of our Restaurant Academy, we also have financial advisors, we have a legal advisor, social media and marketing, and strategic planning. So if you have not yet visited our website, please go to www.pcrsbdc.org, or you can send us an email at info@pcrsbdc.org. And if you guys have any questions throughout the presentation, please put those questions in the chat. We'll be answering them periodically. We have a panelist that will go through an array of questions that they have experienced as a small business owner with their coffee shops. So that will be exciting. So I'm going to pass it on to Celeste. Take it away.
Are you going to advance the slides, China? Because I don't have them up. There we go. So welcome, everybody. We are so proud to have one of the few restaurant academies here in Southern California. And our mission is to provide food businesses with the guidance and information they need to open well and stay in business successfully. So what you'll be able to learn from the workshops that we provide is how to properly start a food service business in LA with the LA County Health Department requirements. We have classes that will help on controlling costs and improving margins and be profitable. And we can help you do your financial projections, you know, for the year if you're creating your business plan. We also I teach several classes throughout the quarter on California human resources and labor requirements. And that's one thing I found as I was an operator of multi-unit is that one of the biggest things, we could bring our money in the door, but we got to make sure it stays in the door. And a lot of times we would have labor issues and lawsuits that would just take hundreds of thousands of dollars sometimes, even from the smallest vendors or the smallest companies. We'll teach you how to effectively manage a restaurant and provide networking and best practices. So we're kind of an everything in one spot shop. Next slide. There we go. So we do one-on-one advising. So we can help you with if you're in startup, creating your business plan. And if you're already in business, we can help you to fine-tune areas that you would like to improve. We've been doing a lot of support to restaurants here during COVID-19. So whatever you need, just let us know. We are adding workshops and rotating them monthly. So we usually have one every single one a week on Thursdays and Mondays. So you can check our calendar. And then we have these quarterly panels, and we're so glad to have this, all of our great panelists today for the coffee shops. Next slide. I don't know. Oh, there she goes. So here are some of the classes that we offer. We have restaurant business planning. We go take you through permits and licensing, so you can have everything legal here in our county. Asia does a great workshop on passing the health inspections and keeping safe and clean in kitchens. We have Know Your Numbers, accounting for your restaurant, human resource basics for restaurants, how to be an effective restaurant leader. That's a great one if you have never had leadership at all or management of a restaurant. We take you through some really key skills there. We have food truck and food trailer and street vendor guidelines, menu engineering. We've added cottage food recently for home cooked profits. We also go through hiring and retention during the pandemic, which is like a key one of the key challenges at this time, and also preventing COVID in the reopening workplace. So you'll have to check out all of our workshops. We usually have them up 3 months in advance, so they'll be on our website. All right, so here's our first poll today. Down at the bottom of your screen, there'll be a location right between participants and chats. And we want to ask you, how much do you think you need in capital to launch a coffee shop? And I think this is interesting now, what we consider a coffee shop, because when I started my career with Denny's, we were considered the coffee shop. It was more the diner was considered a coffee shop. And now it is like totally transformed more into a Starbucks type model. Okay, we are getting there. We have, if it's going to go down here to the last couple seconds, we have 11 people who've answered so far out of 21. So if you haven't had a chance to put in your answer, now's the time. And I think this could be kind of a broad range depending on what you're going to be starting up. Okay. Okay, last 10 seconds. All right, I'm gonna, is it sharing the results?
Yes, it is.
There you
Mhm.
go. So over $100,000 is the answers that we have today. And I'm going to be taking you through a slide in just a moment that's going to share with us how much it is depending on the style of coffee endeavor you're going into. So we have here 40% came in at 100,000, second came in at $50,000 to $80,000. All right. So let's go to the next slide. So before we get into all of our coffee topics, I did want to share with you, there's been some changes in some different laws that all restaurant and business owners need to know about. So we want to make sure we review that with everyone. And the first one is, we've been going through this 5-year increase on our wages here in the city of LA to get up to the 15 mark. So last July, everybody, whether you were small or large, needed to be at $15. But that's not where it ends, because our minimum wage has a cost of living adjustment to it. So as of July 1st, minimum wage in the city of LA for both small and large employers is going to go up to $16.04. So we wanted to make sure that you were all aware of that. Some of you have people on staff already that will affect, and some of you are making your business plans, so you might have to make that adjustment. And there'll be this cost of living adjustment every year. So if they're going to make another change, it won't happen again until next July. There is a link here because you do have to put up an updated poster in your break area stating what the new law is. So if you just Google LA minimum wage, it'll take you right to the site, and they have these posters in English and in Spanish, which will show the new wage. Also, another law that passed was called the criminalization of wage theft. And this makes it a felony if an employer with intention wrongfully fails to pay wages, including tips, in an amount greater than $950 for one employee, or $2,350 in the aggregate for 2 or more employees within a 12-month period. So I wanted to highlight this because I feel this is very important. I've seen, as I've done audits at different restaurants with HR, where sometimes people aren't paying people their breaks, and they're not splitting their tips correctly. I had one location recently where they didn't split tips at all. With the tip drawer, the owners just kept the tips. If you charge your employees for things that they break and you're deducting wages from them for those kind of things, you're actually could be committing wage theft. So I think you need to really be careful with this and make sure that all of your staff members, all of your supervisors, are aware of it. Because now, $950 hits grand theft. So it has a potential imprisonment up to 3 years in jail. So unfortunately, I've known a few restaurant owners that could actually get affected by that. And so we want to make sure that that stays good for you. And here's that poster I was talking about. It looks just like this, except it's a little bit longer. And you just can go right to the website there, and you can print that out. And lastly, California legislated a couple years ago to start creating a retirement plan for employees, because they see there's going to be a big shortfall in our retirement resources. So they've been doing a phase-in where they've had larger employees already enroll for this retirement program. Now on June 30th of this year, if you have 5 or more employees, you're required to have a retirement plan available to the employees. So you can have your own individual type one, but there is one available through the state site called Cal Savers, where you can sign up your employees there. It doesn't cost you anything. You don't have to do any type of employee match. So your employees that are employed in California that are 18 years of older and have a social security number, can apply for this. You can apply for it yourself, as well as if you're an independent contractor, you can also apply. So once you just go onto the website, you enroll your company before June 30th to avoid the penalty. They will administer everything and send the information out to the employees. And then once you hire an employee, you'll just submit their name to the CalSavers website and they'll take over from there. The employees will automatically be getting a 5% deduction unless they go in and ask not to have any deductions at all, which is their choice. So I'm hearing a lot of insurance companies and financial advising companies are contacting a lot of employers and getting them to set up 401ks where they're doing matches and all that kind of stuff. You're not required to do a match. So I think this is the easiest option that there is out there to take advantage of. Okay, next slide. And I think I see a question coming. If you have a plan.
I'll read it to you okay. If we have a plan that requires them to be 21 and have 1 year of service, can we also do CalSavers?
Yes, you'll have to do CalSavers or have your plan adjusted for them to start by 18. It's good, very good question. Any other question there? If not, I'm moving on to the coffee stuff. All right, so here's some data we pulled up about coffee shop market in the US, and this is all, we need to go back one slide, I think, or is this the first slide? Something changed there.
Back one slide.
Oh, yeah, go back one slide, China. So right now in the United States, there's $36 billion is the market share for coffee shops. And that is just the Starbucks type coffee shops. Doesn't include diners. There's 37,000 of them throughout the US. And we are the leading importer of coffee throughout the world. And here are some average startups that we pulled from Fit Small Business, where they had done some surveys. And these are what some of the coffee shop startup costs are. And they, of course, can fluctuate depending on what metropolitan area you are. Ours seems to be probably the most expensive next to San Francisco or New York. But larger ones are about $750, cafe style $150 to $400, drive-through $60 to $180K. Food trucks 15 to 90. So 15 if you were maybe on the leasing side, 90 or more. And I would say probably 25, 30% more on the food truck side than because of costs right now. And then kiosks and carts, it's 7 to 60,000. So depending on where you're going, and a lot of coffee shops are now adding drive-throughs. So the average cost of running a coffee shop, I thought this was really interesting data that you guys might be interested in knowing. For instance, labor is running 28 to 35%. Food and supplies are costing 22 to 30%. Average coffee shop is spending 5 to 8% on marketing. Their lease and utilities is 10 to 12. And I would say that's really low because in LA, we're probably hitting 10 mostly on the lease alone. And then admin 10 to 12% and miscellaneous 5%. So that can kind of give you a little bit of an idea of where some of those numbers come in. And here are some of the coffee trends. Over the last year, they saw a 5,380% sales increase in curbside and pickup orders. Well, of course, we know COVID-19, that was the main delivery system, right? But we are seeing a lot more companies like Starbucks add in that drive-through because they're kind of combating the people sitting in their tables all the time, you know, and taking up a lot of space. And this gives them some steady revenue. Consumer spending is up. So 25 of the people visiting, they're spending approximately 25% more than they did prior to COVID. Coffee drinkers spend 79% of their coffee budget outside of the home. So people getting coffee are usually getting it outside. 46% of the coffee drinkers purchase their coffee through a drive-through. So that could be fast food drive-throughs as well. And we've seen McDonald's start huge coffee programs. And I know it cost their franchisees $500,000 to put in their coffee systems in their restaurants. Fast food restaurants are growing at a rate of 2% per year, while coffee houses are growing at a rate of 10% each year. And 32% of millennials report drinking an espresso-based drink daily. So that's how they keep all their energy up, and hopefully have some of those on your menu. And over to the right, we show who are the people spending the most at coffee shops. And as we thought, 25 to 34%. First, they're spending $2,600 a year. Next, followed by the 35 to 44. So that's kind of encapsulating the whole millennial group. So that's kind of our our target, and where we probably spend the most money advertising. Okay, so let's go to the next slide. I think we're going right to the panel at this point. So without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Asia, and she's going to take it through our coffee shop chat.
Thank you, Celeste. I loved hearing those last statistics. Super, super informative. So what a great segue to talking to our panelists now. I encourage you a little bit of bio on each of them. I'm going to share that with you, and I want you all to listen in, because at the end of our presentation, we're going to give away some prizes, a couple of gift cards for each of our panelists' coffee locations, so that way you can sew into their business. But those questions will be based on what I share in their bio. So listen up. First, we're going to start with Jane. Jane Ling is the founder of Coffee Confessionals. And Coffee Confessionals, it's a platform that has an enriched source of coffee information, stories. It's also an e-commerce store for specialty blends, coffee accessories, which I have my fabulous mug here, and lifestyle products. Coffee Confessionals, they have an admirable social media presence of over 34,000 followers. Jing's long-term vision is to be a coffee community shop where people can story share and connect over warm beverage. She also graduated from Boston College and has a master's in entertainment management from Carnegie Mellon University. So that is Jing. And I'm going to drop in her website and also her Instagram handles. And I'll do that for all the panelists as I go through this, just so you guys can check them out and, of course, follow them. All right, let's talk about Moses. Moses Harris. He is the co-owner of Bloom and Plume Coffee, which is a Los Angeles coffee shop. It's located in historic Filipino town in Echo Park. Now, Moses is fairly new to the coffee industry, but he has an extensive experience in business with a background in corporate banking, various real estate consulting, and entrepreneurial ventures. His passion for coffee, it really centers around using a physical space to facilitate inclusive community building. He uses high quality products and branding to tell stories, change narratives, and really shift paradigms on various societal nomenclature. He has a medium where enterprise meshes with social awareness and activism. It's a gorgeous shop. I really encourage you all to go and visit it. Moses earned his Bachelor of Science in Business Administration and Finance and MBA from the Craig School of Business at Cal State University, Fresno, while he also participated in Division I athletics. He was a member of the National Football League with the St. Louis Rams. And let me go ahead and drop in his info. There we go. And then last but not least, we've got Vanessa. And Vanessa, if I mispronounce your last name, please correct me. Punche? That's it, right? All right, Vanessa is the founder. Okay, yes. Vanessa is the founder and CEO of LA Grind Coffee and Tea Bar. It is your coffee house on wheels. She retired from UCLA in 2019 after nearly 25 years of service to run this business of hers full time. So she's currently a mobile beverage caterer and has nearly 3 years in business with a coffee truck and a coffee brand. Her coffee is sourced from Cameroon and can be found at the Wonderful Market in Inglewood and the North Star Market in Gardena. She also strives to be a nationally known coffee brand and is also recently acquired a brick and mortar coffee shop. So let me drop her info in there as well. All right, so we have some questions that we want to ask our panelists, just kind of get the conversation going. So I'm gonna jump into those first, and then we will leave some time for the audience to also drop questions into the chat if you want to ask them directly or to everyone, whichever you prefer, but we're going to start off with a couple of kind of core questions. So first and foremost, coffee. Why coffee? Of all of the different, businesses you could have pursued. And we'll start with Vanessa on this one. Why did you choose coffee? Tell us your origin story and how you got into this.
Yes, well, I didn't choose this business. This business chose me. If you don't already know my story, I basically started after the incident at a Starbucks in 2018, where two African American men were arrested, basically for doing nothing. Starbucks in Philly. So that just really did not sit with me too well. I say it didn't happen to me, but it happened to me. People who look like me, people of color. So I just really wanted to change how that whole thing looked. I was an avid Starbucks customer, so, and a very conscious consumer. So I decided to take my monies and not spend them there and launched my own business and my own brand.
Perfect. Thank you. I love that. And I do remember that story, but I'm glad that you're able to share that with the audience. Okay, Jing, how about you? Tell us Coffee Confessionals, your origin story.
Yeah, sure. So I feel like my origin story probably similar to a lot of people in that, like, I always found myself just like in coffee shops doing work, like meeting up with friends and things. And for me, it was always just like a sense of, I don't know, like a nice, warm place to like get stuff done and community and everything. And I would say I'm an extrovert, so I will like literally talk to anybody. I'll talk to strangers. So, like if I'm like sitting alone, like I might strike up a conversation with someone sitting next to me. And I felt that, kind of this trend that I was seeing, this was like years ago, but it was like a lot of people that I was talking to either were like kind of in transition to a new city or like like coming out of school and things. And it was really hard for them to kind of make this connection and like find this new community within their city or whatever. So, from that, I was just kind of gathering all of this human interest stories. And, I was pursuing a corporate career, but I also felt like I was like kind of losing the passion for it. So, kind of like a combination of everything, was the perfect alignment of stars. I started a human interest blog called Coffee Confessionals because I was just getting all of these like confessionals from people that I was talking to. And the goal was to just like highlight people's experiences with the hopes that it would kind of spur other people to share their experiences and connect and just kind of like feel like you're not really alone in this. And then honestly, it just snowballed from there. Like I felt like I started getting more into the coffee business and going to coffee conferences like coffee fests. And I met a lot of people in the industry were just like amazing mentors to me and like supportive activists and roles. And so from there, the blog kind of grew and grew. And then eventually I found a roaster that I worked with and then started working on the coffee brand, launched an e-commerce store, and now, kind of in the process of looking for a storefront lease as well. So that's a little bit about me.
All right. And then Moses, tell us your origin story.
Of course. So my brother is a Los Angeles florist, very high end, and most of his customers are kind of Hancock Park and West. And we wanted to create a brand or make the brand more approachable. And so we thought about different vehicles in which we could do that. And coffee was where we landed for a couple of reasons. Number one, it's an everyday luxury that we all can afford ourselves. And it's an opportunity to tell stories. Very similar to Jean, how she talked about how communities can come together. My brother has lived in where our coffee shop is for 22 years. And so he came to me, he's like, Moses, like, we have the right location, we can do it. And I said, no. And then we met with the consultant and kind of built my confidence that way. And it was a long road, but we are here now. And my personal experience with coffee was, this is kind of 2014, 2015. I never really felt like these spaces were built for me. I never thought that the person that designed this store was thinking about the Black African American experience. And so they felt like, especially in the third wave space, they felt like broy or like a flannel or a beanie or like kind of the hair to the side. It's like, I don't resonate with that at all. Music that, so I just like, me and my brother, like, no, let's create a space that honors our story, our tradition. So if y'all do have an opportunity to come in, there's like over 30 different little nuggets in throughout the store that speaks to our culture. And it's me and my brother, we say in the culture, we say, if you know, you know. So you walk into the store, the menu's on a church fan. And most people kind of giggle and laugh because we grew up in church, and I got so many butt whoopings in church. That was really funny and really cute. We have a cotton bush in our store. So my grandma used to pick cotton back in the day, right? So these are like a couple things that we did to acutely speak to, this space was made for you and you belong here.
But what I will say, because I have been to your store, many times, is that it still feels inclusive for everybody. So it's a narrative that resonates maybe more with some people, but it's still, you can still get a great cup of coffee, delicious pastry, now, some new even food options, and amazing merchandise. So I definitely want to kind of promote that. It's still, it feels good. All right, so let's, I do want to ask, because you kind of said something that made me laugh when you said, Maurice wanted you to start a coffee shop. You said no, because this is something that we are hesitant about, because there's a lot of expenses, there's a lot of challenges. So I'm gonna jump back to Vanessa. Maybe answer for me, what were some of your unexpected expenses, or if you want to tie it in, maybe your biggest challenge? I know it's kind of a double-edged sword, but give us some of that from your perspective.
Okay, so I think with opening the brick and mortar, and it's been less than a year, a wonderful roller coaster, ups and downs, but I wouldn't change a thing. I think some of my business, my biggest expenses at where I wasn't looking to having to do those things. So the space that I went into was already an existing coffee shop, which made it great. But it was, I had to put my own stamp of approval on it. So I had to pretty much kind of redesign the whole thing, not the full floor plan, but just the aesthetics. And that with that came a lot more money than what I had anticipated, because I thought, oh, I could just slap some paint on the wall, change the floors. And, once you start one thing, of course, something else might come up, like, don't open that can of worms, because something else might, be hiding under there. But so I think, some of the aesthetics, making it look the way I wanted it to look, how I wanted it to be a space that was inviting, not to just people of color, but I mean, that was the main focus. But the area that I'm in, Mid-City, is very gentrified. So, I wanted it to be a welcoming space for everybody. But of course, when my brothers and sisters come in, I mean, like, they be loving on me. They're like, sis, this is yours. Oh my God. And so we kind of connect like that. But yeah,
that biggest cost was really unexpected. You thought you'd kind of get in there, like you said, slap some paint on the walls.
Yeah, and so it wasn't just being able to slap the paint on the wall. And then also the lease, because of the area that I'm in, it's very up and coming. So of course the landlord is, riding on that wave as well. So, I looked at that will that had, rent should be 10% to 17%. So yeah, I'm probably on the higher end, but yeah, so the lease, but I'm making it work. I'm still there. So yeah.
Thank you. So Jing, let's talk about your biggest challenges, because I know your end goal is to have that brick and mortar, but right now you've pivoted to that e-commerce side. But maybe talk about your journey thus far and trying to get there.
Yeah, it's funny. I actually wanted to jump in when Moses was saying something about like creating, why his vision was like for his coffee shop. And after seeing all of like, certain kind of hipsters, but like, wearing flannel. And I had like the same experience because I would go to coffee shops, and I love coffee shops. And like, there was one coffee shop in particular I went to, which shall not be named, where I went up to the barista and I was like, oh, like I like kind of like, a light body coffee. Because I was trying to figure out like which roasts they had and which coffees they had of the day. And then he just looked at me like I was a crazy person and was like, well, we identify it with earthy and fruitiness. So I don't really understand your question. And that was kind of my experience in that, like, I felt like sometimes I would walk into these amazing coffee shops and it was very closed off to people who didn't really understand the coffee culture. And it was sort of like, I wanted to build something that was like all inclusive. And also, I wouldn't say everybody, but a lot of people drink coffee, and it doesn't really matter whether you like the Folgers coffee in the morning or, you like the single origin from, like Kenya that's, produced in a certain way and processed, like washed or, in a certain way. So, the more I understood and grew into it, the more I understood about coffee. But the goal was always more about the connection and community aspect of it rather than, the coffee. The coffee is important. So that's kind of how we like built our platform on that. So we built it more around like education about coffee, like very, very basic education. So anybody can like put it together to, a little bit more complicated expertise, and also like just kind of like inspiring content that wanted to make you connect with the coffee community and not really feel like isolated or an outsider, because I feel like that's for us the end goal, right? It's like building community, building connections, not feeling like I don't really understand coffee because I can't taste if it's fruity or stone fruit or if it's an earthy like Sumatra blend.
Very good. And I actually will say I've watched some of your videos on your website, and it's very approachable. And I feel like that's what we want, right? We're not trying to cater to the snooty person who maybe is just looking to, I won't even go into that because I've had that experience, and I saw somebody else share a similar experience as well in the chat. But Moses, let's go to you. I think I have a feeling what you're going to say, but I want you to share with the audience, what were some of the unexpected, challenges that you had, or experiences or expenses even that you ran into?
Okay, Asia, I know you gave us guidance to keep us under 60 seconds, so I'm going to do my best. So
it's okay, you can go over a little. I know it's a good story.
the first challenge is getting financing. And so if you, depending on how you choose to approach the business, whether you want to save up and go into a brick and mortar that way, or if you want to go and get a bank loan. And I have an MBA and I work at a bank, my day job. I work at a bank, right? And at the time I had worked at a bank for 8 years. So I know lending, and I still couldn't get a small business loan, right? So I ended up having to post collateral, and of all the no's that I got, I actually went to an Access to Capital seminar when they were in person back in the day. And I met PCR there. And PCR, they actually took the time to listen to me, because once you say restaurant, coffee, everybody's like, conversation over. Do you have experience? No. Oh, sorry, this isn't for us. So that was the first hurdle. And we just really took time to work with a SBDC or a CDFI, because this is what, like the opening presentation, this is what they do. They want us to start businesses, et cetera. So the second challenge I'd say is the location that we picked, for a couple of reasons. One, it's that toil between, do you go with a high foot traffic location, you got to pay a lot more for that lease, or do you go with a little bit less foot traffic, some blemishes in the location, but you get cheaper rent? So we went with the latter. We went with like, okay, let's just get proof of concept. And we also didn't have a huge tenant improvement budget. So the landlord gave us $0 for our build out. So we were on our own. The hands down biggest mistake we made, we overbuilt. It's beautiful for a reason, because we overbuilt. And it took us so much time to dig ourselves out of that hole financially. It's a lot of coffee you got to sell for a beautiful location. Like I'd say, I wish I would have waited to store 3 or 4 to really do a grand, beautiful, build out. But because it's still, we didn't really have a clientele. People didn't really know us. Everything is new. We're still figuring out what's our staffing model, what hours work in this neighborhood, what's going to work on the menu, what's not going to work. And as we're kind of figuring that out, we have these loans to pay back, and we got a lot of capital. It's a lot of overhead that makes it really challenging. So the last thing I'll say as a challenge, we got sued our first 4 months being in business, which was really annoying. It was a scam with the American Disability Act. This is a person that goes around the city to new startups and points like, hey, your bathroom. So we ended up settling. It was like $10,000. It's like, we don't have 10,000. Oh my God. So that was very unexpected.
And that you just to finish that thought, you were saying that they go around and they find places that are maybe not accessible for somebody with a disability, and they point that out and then create a lawsuit.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing is like we were ADA approved, but there is a document that you can, when you open up your store, you can have, I'm blanking on the name, but basically an American Disability Act consultant can come out and give you like a shield of protection. And I forgot, maybe it's like $1,000 or something, or $1,200 to get it. It's worth every single penny. So that if someone does come in and say, no, this space has been approved, you kind of dot your I, cross your T, and it just gives you that insurance that won't happen to you.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. That was, yeah, I know that hurt and cut you guys pretty deep. So thank you for sharing that. But you did say something that I almost feel like a broken record that I do share with clients is get proof of concept first, right? We all get so excited and we love our ideas. Our family may or may not love our ideas, or our friends love our ideas. But if some stranger, people are going to pay you for this wonderful idea, don't go and take out, 200,000 loan and get a second mortgage. Don't do all that. Really start small. It's okay to start small and expand and grow. And like you said, that third or fourth store, blow it out to whatever that dream is, because now you got capital saved, you got revenue coming in, and it's just not all on the line. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Okay, let's kind of switch to a more positive note. I know we shared kind of our hurts and our wounds, but tell me about your proudest coffee business moment. And I'll go back to Vanessa, and we'll do that same order again. But what has been your proudest coffee moment since you started?
You know what? Buying, and I mean buying my own coffee truck, because that bad boy is a moneymaker. It takes, like, if the shop is low, somebody's calling me to do something. So I did something Saturday night after closing the shop for LMU, and what they paid me for 4 hours. So I am so grateful that because I knew the truck was going to be the moneymaker, which I bought in 2019 after retiring from UCLA. I knew I needed to start with the truck, and that truck would fund my brick and mortar. Fast forward to December of 2019, one of my advisors, Joseph Duncan with SBDC PCR, I happened to call him up. I said, hey, Joseph, I got this concept, everybody's opening up all these coffee shops all over town. And I said, and it's great. I said, but nobody is doing a drive-through. So I'm telling my secret, okay? Nobody's doing a drive-through, and nobody's following that Starbucks motto right now. And when I tell you, when the pandemic hit, so that was December, because he was like, oh, that's a good idea, get back to me, tell me what it looks like to you. Pandemic hit, and I was like, oh my God, the pandemic proved my point. because my idea was I didn't want anybody in the store, in the shop, less overhead, had 2 or 3 people in there working, didn't have to clean up behind anybody. That was my concept. And then again, blindsided. But again, the truck, not financing the truck, buying the truck, getting that truck on the road to get me to where the next level was to be. It's still, even though through the pandemic, because I shut down as well, because I didn't know what was what. So I really didn't take the truck out at that point. I just pushed my online coffee because everybody was at home. Came up with coffee pods. So I did that as well. And I also need to mention, I have a vending machine. I have a self-branded vending machine in the city of Beverly Hills at, can't think of the name of the park, Roxbury Park, Roxbury and Olympic. So again, it's a little pandemic-ish closed down, but it's still moving some things through. I get a little money out of there. But yes, the truck has been the hands down biggest investment for me. Even if, God forbid, I decide to walk away from the brick and mortar, the truck will always, I could go do 2 or 3 jobs and I'm good. Yeah.
Oh, excellent. Okay. All right, Jane, how about you? Tell us your big coffee business proudest moment.
Yeah, I feel like mine, compared to Vanessa, mine is like a little bit much smaller, but more of like a personal achievement for me. So I come from like a really, really conservative, like Asian family background, and it's all about, like pursuing a certain kind of career path and all of that. And I feel like, I've done that, and I've gone and, gotten the education and, when worked in, a corporate job, worked in the movie studio for years and years. And so that was always something that I was proud of, but also kind of like achieving, I guess, maybe not achieving, but sort of like satisfying like what my parents kind of wanted. So when I decided all of a sudden to like do a 180 and become a coffee entrepreneur, I think like my parents had to kind of freak out. I was like, oh my God, is she losing her mind? Like, what are we going to do about her? Like, we need to have like an intervention, all of that. So, it was like kind of slowly step by step, but I would say my proudest coffee moment was like when I sent my dad some of the samples that I had been working with my roaster. I'd sent him some like single origins, and I sent him, my blends. And this was after the website had launched and everything. And he was like, oh, well, this is actually pretty good. Like we can drink this coffee, and the packaging is good. It's just like, it was like such like the proudest moment, because my parents are also the people that will go to Costco and buy like a 2-pound bag and then just like sit on that coffee for months and months and months. So I don't know, just like kind of convincing them and having that moment was just sort of like, yes, like validation for me.
Oh, that's good. And you know what? I feel it's not small, it's just a different journey, a different path. So that's excellent. All right, Moses, your proudest coffee business moment.
Yeah, so all three of us kind of talked about these ideas that we had in our head about when we go to market, right? And the proudest moment for me is when we got validation that our idea actually worked and people bought in. When the pandemic hit, like everyone, we were like, oh God, what do we do? So the first thing we did is like, let's make sure we get our staff's rent paid for the month. Like, I don't know what's gonna happen. And again, shout out to PCR. Mr. Robinson came down the day after we shut, and he had coffee with us. He's like, Moses, don't worry, things gonna be okay. Anyways, so we put up a GoFundMe on our Instagram and got it all set up. And when I tell you the comments from the people on Instagram and emails that we got, it was just an overpouring affirmation that our business mattered to the local community. And that was incredible. And the other thing, very similar, I don't know, maybe this was about 6-7 months ago, someone posted a really nasty Yelp review, and it was kind of, it kind of came out of left field. And we had someone that was doing social media for us, and they took a picture of the Yelp review and they posted it on our Instagram. And we had over 200 people go to that guy's Yelp page and just like, you don't come from Bloom and Bloom, Bloom and Bloom. It was really cool. It's like, wow, like you treat people well, and our employees are very nice, and it's just reciprocated. So that was a really, really cool moment.
I love that. I love that your customer stood up for you. You didn't even have to jump out there. They took it for me. Okay, I'm going to ask each panelist one more individual question, and then we will open it up to questions from the audience. Vanessa, so you kind of touched on this a little bit, but maybe give us, for the folks that are not sure on, truck, brick and mortar first, because I know sometimes people are scared of the truck, right? Of buying a food truck. But how does your coffee truck business compare to your brick and mortar, outside of the fact that you said already, the truck, that mobile going and you can get one job and it might maybe make up the same sales as your brick and mortar. But is there anything else, that you can kind of give us some context about how they compare or differ, if somebody's on the fence between the two?
Yes. Ooh. Well, I think for me, I knew going in, I did not want to, per se, put all my eggs in a basket for a brick and mortar. And I knew that it was going to take a lot of money. So again, for me, the coffee truck made a lot of sense. And when I tell y'all, I was scared, like, I can't even, I had to talk myself into, it's like, you're getting a truck, what? You don't like to drive that much. What are you thinking? You have those conversations with yourself. But on the other side, it's like, you're doing this, you are doing this. So I was like, even we got the truck. I found the truck on OfferUp. OfferUp is my friend. So it was an existing coffee truck. Someone was selling their business. And thank God I was right on time, ready to receive that. And got the truck, but scared to drive it. So my boyfriend was like, you're getting behind this wheel because, this is what you wanted. And so it's been, like I said, a moneymaker. If you're on the fence, I will say that the truck is not for the faint of heart. It is not for the weary. You take your truck to a commissary, that's where it stays. You can't park it at your house. And there's rent there. So you've got rent. So keep that in mind. So that is an expense. But when I looked at that expense over the brick and mortar, it just made more sense. I don't have lights and utilities, water. It was all, kind of consumed or covered in the rent at the commissary. But at the commissary, it's dirty, people are done. Now I just have coffee. So, I'm just letting water out of my drain. But you got people who are frying chicken, so they got grease and there's rice. So it's just, if you don't think you can handle that, think twice. But it has and will continue to be the moneymaker. I use it for catering only. So basically they pay me to come out. I do have a proud moment. Another proud moment, I'm sorry, but it is tied in with the truck. So I get calls from all over. I did something in December for Ava DuVernay. I did something at the top of March for Will and Jada. So I went to their home in Calabasas, and this was before the slap, but we won't talk about that. Movie lots, so stuff like that. Again, it continues to, like, if I know the shop maybe today was a little slow, I know there's going to be a job that's going to come in and pick it right on up. So if you feel like you can run a truck, because I drive the truck myself. They do rent trucks, so you don't have to go buy one. So if you're thinking about that, these commissaries rent trucks. I don't know how much they are. I think it's probably pretty reasonable, I would say.
That's a few $100s there. I have a couple of clients that rent trucks.
Yeah, probably a few $100s a week. Yeah, or a day. I don't know.
Each day.
Oh, a day. Okay, a day. So yeah, that's always a great avenue, but it will get you to that next, thing, if that's what you're trying to do. And I see it, a lot of people are starting there, even with the, if you're not even in coffee, you're just trying to get into a restaurant, whatever your thing is. I'm just going to say chicken. These people are driving these chicken trucks, and now a year later or whatever, Moses, you smile. And now now they've got a brick and mortar. So again, the truck has been nothing but a blessing for me and for the business. So yeah.
Thank you. And I do want to just make sure people understand, it doesn't mean as soon as you get your truck and slap some branding on it, Will and Jada are calling you, right? You put in the work, you put in the time, you were patient, you were consistent, you had that proof of concept. So good.
Yes.
Okay, so Jing, I've got to ask you, because I'm always so impressed. How did you grow your Instagram followers to 34,000? I mean, it's just phenomenal.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I mean, to be honest, when I started Coffee Confessionals and, jumped on the Instagram thing, like Instagram wasn't the behemoth that it was today. Like I would definitely say that when I started, it was like relatively new, and that, I just wanted another way to connect with my audience. And, as the platform evolved, you kind of have to evolve with the platform and really like understand them as a business, like what's important to them. So, in the beginning, it was all about images, and I would just kind of, it was like getting my images on my blog, but then just sharing that on Instagram. And then as they were evolving, it was like started to focus on stories. And then it was about IGTV, and then it was about IGTV Live. And then when TikTok came around, then they focused on really short form content, and Reels was really important. So for example, like how the brand evolved with that is that, again, in the beginning, we were sharing images on the blog. And then after that with stories, it really was about kind of for us, like the content you really have to think about in terms of the end user, like what is important to them. So you can have like a different way to connect with them. Some Instagram handles are all about like funny memes or things that like are inspiring. For us, I think it was all about like educational content. So we wanted to focus on educational content, like brewing tutorials and kind of like insider info, sort of like, again, going back to that community and connection aspect, like giving you a sneak peek of like, the coffee community. So I like literally just brought my camera and, like even my iPhone, and I would go to coffee festivals, connect with people at coffee festivals, show like this insider info. I went to these, like after the coffee shops would close down, they had what they call like latte art throwdowns or these barista competitions. So I would show that, I would interview the baristas, and that I had a lot of fun doing that, but it was also a way to like show audiences, okay, like here is, like coffee PM, like midnight coffee or like after hours. And then, once it started to evolve into sort of the IGTV and IG Live, then this kind of happened, I would say, sort of organically. Was a friend of mine who's a fashion stylist in LA. He was like, oh, well, you have a great, you have a huge Instagram following, and he had a huge Instagram following. He was one of like the people that would comment on celebrity dresses on like People Magazine, Fashion Police, that's what it was. And so we basically came up with this, like this partnership, almost like a morning show segment called Coffee and Fashion. And so we started doing that with IG Live and having people tune in. But what I really loved about that content was we were able to really talk about two different sides or two different business segments, But at the same time, people started coming to me and was like, hey, like, we are specialty decaf coffee roasters. You know, could you feature our product on your show? So we were getting like samples, and we were getting other people tuning in and, you know, sending us these things that we could highlight about the local communities. So I think it's always kind of like a give and take, like, you know, showing what is going on in the community, but also kind of being vulnerable yourself as a business owner, and, you know, letting them know like what's going on behind the scenes, what's, you know, like your struggles, and just always like thinking as the end user, like what is important to them, but also what is important to the platform, like what the platform wants to grow on, whether it's short form content or from long form content. And yeah, I guess like that would be like my tips for kind of like just like growing the audiences and just having fun with it, you know, because at the end, sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, like my algorithm or the engagement is off or this and that, but it's, you know, who cares? It's about your audience and what you're like telling them and what you're trying to provide for them, you know?
Love that. I wish Sahar was on here and so she could kind of piggyback and high five what you just said. So that's awesome. Thank you. All right, Moses. So we've talked about the infamous Starbucks and other big coffee chains, but what has been your strategy? I mean, it's hard when you know that there might be a drive-through 2 blocks away from you and you have the gall to set up your own little coffee shop. So how do you compete?
Yeah,
Sure. Mhm.
I'd say three things. Number one, culture. Number two, culture. Number three, culture. Like you have to be authentic to yourself in your story. Like no one can be Moses Harris. No one can be better at that than me. And so we just lean into our story. My brother, I'm a cis straight man, boring. If I was to make a coffee shop like design, I'd have some Costco chairs and some Dixie cups. You know what I'm saying? Like that, that's not my, it's not my skill set, right? But when you pair with my brother, who's an artist, one of the best artists, I believe, you know, in the city, in the state, whatever, you know, we come together and we work really well. And so we're brothers. So we're able to fuse our shared world. And I mean, he's gay. So we kind of play with gender, we play with orientation, we play with all these different notes. And that's how we tell our story. And we're so consistent. We have a lot of fun. And because me and my brother have a loving, joking, playful relationship that's modeled with the staff. And so when customers come in, they can feel that energy. And so it just kind of permeates. We, to Jean's point, we also have a lot of fun on social media, or we try to, right? We try to lead with high aesthetic, but also not taking it too serious. So whatever, I know one of my favorite ones was the Bernie Sanders mittens, little whatever, you know, something will be hot on Instagram for 6 days. So we try to kind of not be trendy, but maybe every 6 little Instagram moments we'll participate in. And on the serious side, what we do is we play to the strengths of our environment. So we're in a kind of a cool kid market in Echo Park. So what cool kids like is merch and apparel. So we lean into that, and I'll be as transparent with you all as we can. These doors would be closed as closed could be if we just leaned on our coffee bar. Coffee doesn't pay the bills for us in our location, right? Not for everybody, but in our store. Our parking is terrible. To do a U-turn, you'll like get in a car accident, and to turn right and wrap around, it's just like, you know, I'll get them next time, right? So we really have to lean into, okay, we're only gonna get them one time. So when we get them, we gotta get merch, we gotta get food, we gotta, you know, we really try to take advantage of that. And then lastly, because I'm getting a little long-winded, you know, we're small, so we can do things very nimble and quickly. Whereas Starbucks or these other businesses, they gotta ask their boss, or they gotta get approval, or they gotta check with compliance or legal. It's like, well, technically I'm compliance and legal and the decision maker. I'm the bank, I'm the so that is how we compete against the bigger companies.
Awesome. Well, I hope everybody is inspired to visit all 3 of these fantastic business owners and just purchase from their business. I do want to open up the panel up to questions. And I did see one come through a little earlier from Jennifer. She says she has a small Turkish restaurant that opened in May 2020. Good for you during the pandemic. We are planning to expand into the space next to us and have a coffee shop menu, including Turkish coffee and espresso drinks. How do I choose the right brand of coffee to use? So whoever feels comfortable from the panel to answer that.
Jing, you might be the most adept. I don't know, but I'll take a stab at it. You know, it depends on your comfort and the quality of baristas you have, and what sells in your market in your neighborhood. Like if you have really astute connoisseurs that really care about the milk temperature and the quality of the bean, and they want a high note, and they, you know, like there's certain neighborhoods like where you have to go with an established brand, you know, that can kind of give you that. Or if you have people that are just kind of like, I just want a consistent cup of coffee, you know, some of your bigger, like a Stumptown or a Counterculture, you know, they'll give you a consistent bag. At our shop, we kind of fall into that. People want an experience. So we go with the specialty roaster that no one in LA has. We work with the Black Roaster out of North Carolina, Black and White Roasters. And every week they send us new beans. And so, and that's a part of our business strategy because our customers want that and they expect that from us. I don't know what that's like in your neighborhood, at your store.
Yeah, I mean, just to add to that, I would, I mean, I actually think it doesn't really matter what brand of coffee that you use. I think, like Moses said before, it's really about, you know, connecting with the culture, especially like for Turkish coffee, and also just educating your customers and consumers. Because, I mean, depending on where you open, maybe it is an area where people are familiar with what, you know, Turkish restaurant, Turkish coffee, but you might want to have some maybe like free samples, or you might want to have some kind of like workshops where people can kind of learn about it, like, you know, how the grinds, you know, the grind size for Turkish coffee is really, really fine. So that's important. And I would actually, I think a great store that you could visit, which actually has like a specialty kind of vibe to it, is Bohemian, I think Bohemian Chai and Coffee, or Bohemian Coffee and Chai. And they do such a good job like highlighting the different chai flavors and everything. And they do like a specialty kind of cup, which I think that would just be like super helpful in, you know, just getting some like market research and things like that. But I really think it doesn't really matter what brand you go with, as long as, you know, you create this like great cup of Turkish coffee and kind of help your audiences understand that, you know, maybe it's not your regular cup of coffee. You know, after you drink it, you don't want to drink it all the way to the bottom because you will get that coffee grind at the bottom, you know, so you want to leave a few drops. So I think it's more about that than anything. So, yeah.
Vanessa, did you want to add anything else, or?
Yeah, I think introducing the community, because I'm not sure if it's a Turkish community or not, but maybe introducing them to the Turkish coffee, you know, would be great. I'm very intentional with my coffee. I have one brand, one single origin. It's from Cameroon. And like Moses, I am very, very particular about that coffee. No one else is carrying that. And my roaster is Cameroonian, so that gives me a leg up. So he imports and he sends me, you know, it's the same source, because, you know, I wanted to sample different blends, but I'm like, you know what, if it's not broke, don't fix it. And they love the coffee. So yeah, okay. So I would say, give them some of your Turkish coffee. If that's your origin, your descent, your culture, let them try, you know, where that is from. You'd be surprised, they probably will fall in love with it. And you may not need to introduce another brand, just, you know, yeah.
I was thinking that too, definitely from a consultant perspective, and kind of piggybacks on what Moses says, you know, stay true to you. And I feel like that will resonate, and it'll match what you're also doing currently in your restaurant. Okay, Diana, if you want to just take yourself off mute and ask your question to the panelists, and then Trevor will get you next.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say thank you to all three of the speakers for taking the time to speak to us, because as new business owners, like, we need advice and we need to see that, like, okay, other business owners have been in our state or where we're at. And it gives us a sense of relief.
Cafe Cafe? Is that Diana Cafe Cafe?
Yeah, that's me.
What's up, girl?
Hi. I'm so excited to see you on here. So proud of you, by the way. So I actually had a question for all three speakers. I just opened up shop and we're doing good. We're steady, and I'm so grateful for that. My question is, how do you guys deal with mental health? Did you guys did your mental health suffer in the beginning of the process, even if it was a good start? How did you deal with, like, your stress level, catching up, breathing, and not lose the passion for coffee and what the vision was? And so that's my question.
Can I go first?
Very good question. Yes, go ahead, Vanessa.
Okay, you've got to cut yourself off. I'm a very big proponent in work, home. Even when the business line rings, it may be about the truck. It could be some money calling, but I'm not gonna answer. My shop closes at 3, unless I choose to keep it open after, but I close it. I don't, people want to come in after 3. I've been here for, I've been up since dark 30, and I'm ready to go home, because I'm going to be back here tomorrow. You're going to get all of this loveliness the next day, I promise. I love sharing and connecting with my customers, but cutting it off and giving yourself the space that you need, even if it's friends and family. Sometimes you just gotta know, right now I need to, kind of focus on myself. You just gotta do it. And I'm good at that, because there's only one of me. No one knows what it feels like to get up and I'm just gonna keep using dark 30, go up in this shop, make sure I got the supplies I need, that whole get up, that whole routine day after day after day. So for me to keep my mental stability, I have to cut certain things off. I'm in bed by a certain time, and I don't feel guilty about it. So don't feel bad about taking care of yourself when you need to, because you're going to be at that shop. I don't know how long you're open, even if you're open 7 days. I needed to give myself 1 day. I would love to be open 7 days, but right now I don't have the staffing for that. But that 1 day that I give myself allows me to rejuvenate. Even if I'm just in bed all day, I'm ready to go Monday, because I almost I missed my shop. I'm going to my shop. But you need that downtime, so don't feel bad about that is your mental health. And sometimes, and keeping the work and the home separate, again, for me, is very, very, very important.
What I hear loud and clear from that is set some boundaries and stick to them. Jing or Moses, do you want to add on to that? How do you manage your mental health?
Yeah, for me, I mean, definitely, I would say that I need my alone moments as well, but kind of on the opposite end of the spectrum too. Like, I can get really in my head about things and then just kind of sit and stew and just kind of go into this downward spiral about I'm like, oh my gosh, this isn't working. Why is for example, the website crashing or whatever. And for me, I really need to reach out to people, which sometimes is a reminder, because I will just, I need to talk to people. I need to talk to people to talk it through. I need to talk to my advisors from BDC. I need to talk to my friends. I need to talk to just people who are generally supportive in, the small business community. And it's always, at least for me, it's always not as bad as not as bad as it seems once you talk to an outside party, so that it keeps you from going into kind of that mental spiral. And, also more importantly, just to have like a really strong group of like small business owners, communities, and also just, you know, like a core group of people that you can rely on, because you will have those like really dark moments and you're just like, what the heck am I doing? Like, and yeah, like people like that to lean on.
Yeah, I could talk about this for 7,000 hours. So thank you for the question. I'll break it down in 3 components. Number one, you got to do a needs assessment, like for you as a human being. Like you got to take that inventory. What do you need? What do you need? So for me, it's running, physical fitness. Like I have to do that. So I kind of made out, okay, these are the 5 things that I need for myself to be happy and whole. So I make sure that every single week or every single day, I'm carving out time, like Asia said, boundaries, so that I can get those things met first. Number 2, identify triggers, things that trigger me. So what triggers my mental health is looking at the sales number. So Square, they send me a sales number every day at like 3:56. And I'm like, oh God, how do we do today? Right? And then depending on what that number was, I'd have a good day or a bad day. So it's like, okay, that's a trigger. So send that email directly to a folder. And when I'm prepared and ready, then I will look at that and deal with that. So that was like a huge trigger for me. And then another trigger was the general manager just kept texting me all throughout the day and just kept calling me. I was like, no. We got to put some structure and system in place. So I still have a full-time job, transparently. So we came up with like a coding system. It's like, okay, put a red light if this is like, Moses, stop everything and call me. I'm like, okay, got it. And that has happened twice where I had to go down to the shop and someone cut their thumb, whatever. And then lastly, I'd say automate. You have to automate things. So for me, I was spending Sundays writing checks in 2019, writing checks, doing the books, looking at QuickBooks. Like as an operator, no, you can't grow and scale that way. You got to let somebody else do that so you can focus on marketing, so you can focus on like the best quality products and innovate. Like, why do people want to continue to come to the store? I found that spending so much of my free time in the weeds doing like kind of the housekeeping task of running the business, that killed my morale more than anything. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a trigger. So I need to find somebody to do this because I'm not going to make it. Final comment, if there's someone that hasn't started their business yet, I would put a wellness plan in your business plan. Like, what are you going to do for yourself and hold yourself accountable? Give that to your spouse, give that to your kids, give that to mom, whoever, and just hold me accountable. Like, Moses, how many times did you run this week? I only got out there twice. Hey man, what are you doing? Right? Okay, I'm done.
Yeah, I'm going to take Trevor's last question because we're running short on time, but there were 2 more questions that people dropped into the chat. So if the panelists can just take a moment and just type something in the chat to answer that. But Trevor, go ahead and take yourself off mute, ask your question, and then we're going to move on to the next part of the program after everybody answers.
Hi, everyone. I know a couple of the panelists. So how are you, Vanessa and Jane? Nice to meet you, Moses. I have a question. I don't know if this is going to be for the panelists or for Celeste in particular. Do you see, you mentioned at the onset how McDonald's sells coffee. It's a fast food restaurant. Do you think there will be a potentiality for a tie-in with coffee with a fast casual, such as a chicken wing restaurant? Just a basic, not an extraordinary type of blend, but a basic coffee like they would have at a fast food restaurant such as McDonald's. Do you see a tie-in there for a company such as mine?
May I take a stab at it? To me, it's a question of return on investment, return on time. So if you think that your customer base wants that, sure. But if you're only going to sell 5 cups of coffee or 10 cups of coffee a day, and that's going to net you, $50 in profit a week, it's like, is that worth it? Or do you just focus on what you focus on and making that best chicken? Maybe you get a chicken truck. Just kidding. So that's my
Well, I was going to say that it seems like when you see co-branding out there, they're usually things that have similar similar ingredients, similar day time, like, chicken with tacos or something that are more similar to the time frame people eat lunch or whatever. So I don't know. I don't foresee it myself too much.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank
But
you.
what, if you get a good product and people love it, then, then you got it going. But it's hard to do two brands completely to different,
Well, it's coffee from Cameroon.
We
You're gonna
see
buy
where
it from
that's going.
Vanessa, huh?
Yes.
I already did.
Cameroon coffee and chicken. All right. Okay. So if we can go back to the slideshow, we are going to do some prizes, which I'm excited about. And then again, panelists, there's 2 questions in the chat. If you could read those, one from Celeste, one from Cynthia, and then just maybe drop in your notes in the chat to those questions. All right. Screen share is almost there. I don't see anything. Am I the only one that doesn't see? Okay. Be quick with the drama. All right, perfect. So we have 3 questions. And again, the prize is going to be a $25 gift card to our wonderful panelist locations. So it's going to be based on the question. So the first question is going to be for if somebody has the answer to this question about Jing. So coffee confessionals. First person that puts the correct answer in the chat wins a $25 gift card. How many followers does Coffee Confessionals have on Instagram? Uh-oh. So, okay, wait. I don't know. Celeste, maybe you can catch it. The answer is 34,000. I think somebody got it already.
Elliot.
All right. Ding, 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 ding. Thank you. Congratulations. You won a $25 gift card for Coffee Confessionals. So we'll do a private message to you to get your information so we can make sure we get that sent out to you. Next question is going to be for Moses's Bloom and Plume brand. Again, $25. Which NFL team did Moses play for? Okay, I might mispronounce your name, but it was Luna? Yes, you won.
Leilani.
Leilani, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry, Leilani. Thank you. All right. So again, we'll private message you, get your information, and send you that card. And then final question for Vanessa's LA Grind. Okay. Name at least one market you can purchase Vanessa's coffee at. She's got 2, but name at least one. Good job, Arnetta, North Star. And then you can also purchase it at Wonderful Convenience Store, which is also owned by Trevor, who asked that chicken wing question, the Cameroon coffee and chicken. So thank you so much for playing, Arnetta. We're going to send you a private message and get your information. And that's, again, a $25 gift card to spend at Vanessa's coffee shop. Thank you all. So we can go to the next slide. Do we have anything else?
Aisha, there's another
Okay, that was the prizes. So if you guys did win a prize, if you guys can send your email and just your email, I think would be fine. Just send your email to me in the chat and we will send you guys your gift cards. And if you didn't win, still visit some of these beautiful coffee shops that we have.
go online, check out their website, support.
All righty. So we do have some upcoming events. This is not specifically for the Restaurant Academy, but we do have financial fitness workshops that we have on a regular basis. We have a partnership with Citibank and then also California Bank and Trust. They've been doing special fitness workshops for your financials. And so on the 13th, which is on Wednesday, we have how to review your credit score. So please, if you are free and available, come and attend. And then we also have next week on Tuesday, we have Emma Maxey. She's going to be coming. She is from the SBA. So she's going to be talking about federal contracting, doing business with federal government. And so we want you guys to know and understand those different opportunities that will be made available, and how to actually work with the federal government, because we want you guys to grow. We want you to scale with your business. So not only starting, with a great idea, whether it's your enchilada recipe that your mom or your grandma gave you, but we want you guys to grow and scale your business. All righty, and then I think we have one more slide. Okay, so we have the Restaurant Academy. We have an event scheduled with SoCal Gas Company. They have a facility in Downey, and it is a food service equipment center. So you'll be hearing more about the event. It's still in the beginning stages of our planning, but we will be doing a tour of the facility. And Asia, I don't know if you wanted to say anything else about the SoCal Gas tour that we went on of the facility.
I really want to let any business owners that are customers of SoCal Gas know that this is a resource that is free for you to use. They have several commercial kitchens that are built out. So if you wanted to go and practice, a new recipe, or you want to test out some equipment that you're thinking about buying, go to this facility. I mean, make an appointment. But again, it is free for you to use. It's open Monday through Friday. And just go in there and play. It is phenomenal. It's a great place to learn. Maybe even use it for some training if you need to train your staff on how to make something in your location. But it's just a resource that I don't think many people know about. And so we want to make sure everybody knows about this wonderful resource that's available to you. Again, you do have to be a SoCal Gas customer.
Yes, that's true, which I believe most of us should be. Okay, we have our regular events that we have on the calendar coming up. These look old.
Yeah, that should have been taken
and wasn't updated. But go to our website, www.pcrsbdc.org. You will see all of the new and upcoming workshops that we have, including the financial fitness workshops that we mentioned earlier in the presentation, as well as we have a rollout of new workshops that we are sharing on a regular basis monthly. So you may see 2 or 3 workshops this month that you didn't see last month. So please check periodically. We're trying to expand our program to provide you guys with the needs and some of the wants that you guys have been asking for. So please check out the website. Lastly, what is something that you learned today that you will use in your business or for your business? You can go ahead and type it in the chat. We want to see those things. What is something that you learned today and that you will use in or for your business? All right, plan wellness in the business plan. I like that one. Setting boundaries and a wellness plan. I know you guys are going to do some things. Getting the ADA certificate, yes. Never give up. Love it. Things to consider and thinking about as you try to move forward. Yes. The one thing that stood out to me was staying true to yourself. Staying true to yourself. Arnetta, leverage one aspect of business to finance another. That's great. Vanessa, that was to you. Make sure brick and mortar clients have a drive-through.
Hey, you never
Love
know.
that. You never know. Again, for those of you guys who were winners for the gift cards, I haven't seen any emails in my chat.
China, they've sent them to me. I have
Okay.
them. Yes.
Okay, perfect. All right, thank you. Perfect. Well, it's the end. We are at 3:30 exactly. Thank you guys, panelists. Thank you, Asia, Celeste. We thank you, Moses, Vanessa, and Jean. You guys had an array of knowledge to share with us. We look forward to more success stories from each of you guys. And hopefully that was something that one of our other clients that were on today can take with them as a testimony and move forward and not give up, just like you guys didn't give up. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you for
Until next time.
together.
Thank you so much. Absolutely.
Thank you for the invitation.
Have a good one.
All righty.